We're in the heart of the city of London. London has always represented the way that the UK economy has changed. Look at the gherkin and the church behind me. London was initially founded because it was right next to the Thames, and that meant lots of shipping and commerce could take place. In fact, we're located right next to the first ever corporate office that existed in the UK, that of the East India House Company. Now it's the Lloyd's building, which represents the way that the London economy has changed to become much more of a financial powerhouse. My name's Jimmy McLaughlin, and I used to advise the Prime Minister on the future of our economy. I now interview entrepreneurs and thought leaders on my podcast, Jimmy's Jobs of the Future. We've interviewed over 100 of them, and we're going to be distilling what they say about the future of work and the future of our economy into this special episode of Jimmy's Jobs of the Future. We're here at Leadenhall Market, and this represents why people come to work. They come for a sense of belonging, a sense of achievement, and a sense of camaraderie with colleagues. But above all else, they come for financial rewards. They come for compensation. They come for wonga. The future of work is changing dramatically because of the pandemic. It centres a lot around the moment whether you come in the office on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, which leads to a rather unfortunate acronym. But actually, the way that we are working is changing quicker than it's ever changed before in our history. That's why we're distilling 100 episodes of Jimmy's Jobs of the Future with thought leaders and entrepreneurs into this very special episode.
There are 6 key trends to how the future of work is changing. Number 1, how will the office function? Number 2, how do you create a culture when you aren't all together the whole time? Number 3, the rise of purpose and meaningful work. Number 4, how will firms continue to attract and retain talent? 5, the importance of clustering. And 6, the focus on physical and mental health.
The recent history of the office has always been changing. In the 1980s, we had cube farms. In 1990s, we had the development of the open plan office. And then in the 2000s, mega technology companies like Google and Facebook used the office as a big differentiator to try and attract talent away from the top banks. For example, they brought in things like ping pong tables and unlimited food on site. And they also focused on people's physical and mental health. Google even built a running track. And that's going to be a key differentiator in the future for the attraction of talent, because the way that the war for talent is going to develop is it's going to be harder and harder for top companies to attract and retain talent. And they're going to need to think about the office and hybrid working as a key point in how they do that. But one of the key things as well is, how do you build culture when you've got more and more people working at home? So much of the culture used to come from being embedded together in the office. That just does not happen as much anymore. It's a key point when we come to talking about the future of work and the future of our economy.
Therefore, one of the big trends that we will see is the rise of the corporate away day. Now, these have always existed to a degree, but they're going to become even more important as a way of embedding culture when we're not in the office every single day of the week. Previously, they might have focused quite a lot around alcohol, but now companies are thinking of ways that they bring camaraderie, team bonding together, give colleagues the opportunity to brainstorm. Now, one of the exciting things is that with the experience economy growing, the types of events that people can do are changing dramatically. So you can go and do giant Monopoly, or you can even do things like candlestick making. We actually spoke to Rebecca, a venue scanner, on the podcast to talk to her about the different options there. And she was actually saying that there's a big increase in the amount of companies now looking to take people away for 3 days at a time. So there's companies spending huge amounts of money and time on these events, and some of them even hire me to go and speak and talk about trends of the future. And that brings me to point 4, tours of duty. It wasn't that long ago that you used to pick one company for your entire career and you would retire at the end of it. Times began to change towards the end of the last century though, with people possibly having 5 jobs across their career. Now it is increasingly likely that people might have had 5 jobs by the time they're 30. Why is that? Well, it's partly because it's become easier to look for jobs. Particularly as you work from home, you haven't got your boss peering over your shoulder as you scroll LinkedIn and other job sites. It also used to be seen that if you couldn't stick at a job, it was a sign of weakness. But the relationship between an employer and an employee is becoming more transient. And in fact, it is becoming far more accepted that you may join a company for a shortened period of time to work on a project that you can specifically explain on your CV. So one of the key things that we'll see in the future of work and that battle to retain and attract talent is the working environment. And so that's why we'll see ever more importance on the focusing of clusters and what can people look to get from when they go into work. They'll partly want entertainment, they'll partly want shopping, they'll want that experience economy that we were talking about beforehand as well. One of the best examples of this, and the new development of it in the 21st century, is the Olympic Park in East London.
One of the most interesting trends that we're going to see in the future of our economy is how do you bring innovation clusters together? How do you get people together that might not have worked together before? We're here at the Olympic Park that was built in 2012 and is one of the greatest examples of this in the 21st century. For example, you've got corporate, business and sport with the London Stadium over there. And then behind me, you've got the University Arts of London and the V&A Museum. This demonstrates how you're bringing together creativity, academia, and business and corporates. And it's one of the key things that cities are going to have to do in the 21st century.
We're here at Here East, which is the old broadcast centre for the Olympic Games. It's since been repurposed now into an enormous co-working space where academia and business are brought together, and it's become one of the world's hubs for video games. We're here to interview Miles Jacobson of Sports Interactive and of Football Manager fame.
One of the biggest impacts of the pandemic was a realisation that we all needed to take our physical and mental health more seriously. And companies are very focused on that now as well. For a long time, companies have offered discounts to various gym memberships, but they're also now taking mental health much more seriously as well. And that is going to be one of the big trends of the future of work. One of the biggest sectors that we see growing at Jimmy's Jobs of the Future is that of sport. Now, we're all familiar with the athletes at the London Stadium or appearing on football pitches. But what we perhaps don't appreciate is the jobs that are growing behind these sectors. So, for example, whether it's the nutritional side or whether it's people providing the data behind it, there are jobs growing all around sport. The production side too, and the way that we consume sport is changing massively. And it's one of the biggest sectors that we see where jobs are being created and growing. When we started Jimmy's Jobs of the Future, we'd have been lucky if the amount of listeners would have filled a small London pub. Now we've grown so much after 100 episodes, we'd be looking more at stadiums.